Happy Saturday, family. Oh, there's so many recognizable little artichoke holds and Kelly Vinyls and Audrette Holmes in the chat already. What's up, everybody? Hello, my friends. Hey, COS. I feel like we have like 50% of the gutta in the house already. I'm seeing so many people from from Audra's lives. Audra, did you go live today? Because I was looking for your live in my feed and I didn't see it. And I was very disappointed because I'm so used to listening to your lives on Saturdays while I'm getting ready for mine. And I felt lonely. I did. Hi, everybody. Hey, everyone. Hey, Sade. Thank you, Michaela. Listen, I'm not an expat yet. Thank you, Melissa. You know, sometimes as some of you know, I've been doing my makeup every day this month for this little challenge I'm doing on Instagram, which I regretted instantly and have grown to love. I was just like, why have I done this? Why did I pick the longest month to do an everyday makeup beat? But I've actually really enjoyed it. And I've learned a lot about myself and what kind of makeup I like. And ultimately, I'm learning that though I love the extra, I love the drama, I love like a big dramatic eye, my favorite looks are clean, just skin, like glowy, perfected skin, good brows, a light lash, and maybe a bold lip. Maybe not, maybe even just like a nude, glossy situation. Basic looks are my favorite. I feel the prettiest in them. But hello to everyone. Oh, Ajami, you're braiding your hair. Welcome to your first live, Marie. Thank you, Lauren. Alex, reading is fundamental. Check the description box. Ray Ray is playing with a little stuffed hedgehog. She's had that specific toy since she was a puppy. And I bought it because it was about the same size as her at the time. And now it's so funny. Like it's still holding up, surprisingly, because it's going to be 4 years old pretty soon. But it's still holding up. Yeah, right, Audra? Like, I don't know. There's something. I feel my prettiest when I do the least. Although that is not to say that I don't love the drama. And I'm getting really, I think I feel like I might even do a video on this, just to it's usually guys. It's almost always guys saying like, you're beautiful without makeup. You don't need it. I know I'm beautiful and I know I don't need it. I'm not wearing this for you. I'm wearing it because I like it. I thought negging went out in 2015. We're not doing this anymore. Anyway. That's another topic for another day. Today we are gathering. I'm hoping that I have some expats in the house. I put a poll up on the community tab to see what would be a good time for as many expats as possible to join this live, because obviously as expats, you guys are going to be in all different time zones around the world. Thank you, Zara Julius. Yeah, I heard that came out. I haven't watched it myself yet, but yeah, I'm the kind of person who, like, it's bad enough when I have to edit my own videos. I'm not too keen to like see myself in that documentary, but thank you for the shout out, or for at least watching it. I don't know. I have nothing to do with it except for being in it. Thank you, my Valentino. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I honestly, at this point, I stay indoors as much as I do, not even because of Shorty Row, but because of crazy people out in these streets, which has a lot to do with what we're going to be talking about today, which is immigration. Immigration as a Black person, or really anyone, but this is fundamentally meant to be a resource for Black people because, as many of you know, I'm very interested in empowering Black women in particular on my channel. That's really like one of the main reasons that I even continued doing videos at all and didn't just kind of shut down my channel since it was a dead channel for so many years. I decided I wanted to create a place to empower and uplift other Black women. And empowerment is often a wonderful byproduct of knowledge, of information. And these chats always go far too fast for me to read even half of what y'all say. I'm going to say that right now, but I'm hoping that a lot of y'all will be able to at least at each other within the chat and share information as we go, because I'm going to miss a lot. But this is just a starting off point for what I'm going to call Project Exodus. With that community tab post, as I said, I was trying to get as many expats, Black American expats in particular, in this chat as possible. Because after my video on Ahmaud Arbery and some just the personal experiences that I've had not just over the course of my life living in America, but over the past couple of years, it is clear to me that it is time to get serious about emigrating. Thank you, the Blue Noble. Costa Rica. I've heard Costa Rica is beautiful. And I did take Spanish in high school, and I found that when I was in Spain, it comes back to you, even though I didn't learn it like as a child, I was a teenager, it comes back to you better than you think it will. And even though I was in Barcelona, where they primarily are speaking Catalan, I was still able to get by with my Spanish pretty well. And I was flabbergasted at just how much I was forced to adapt and improve within just a couple of weeks. So I feel like Spanish speaking countries are definitely on the table for me. Really, anywhere that isn't America or like a completely war-torn, destitute country would be, viable for me. But we'll get into that. The whole point of all this, of me getting serious about emigrating, me wanting to start this Project Exodus, is that we are not safe in this country. We as Black people are not safe in this country. The message has been sent to us myriad times that we are not safe here. And if I cannot be safe, I cannot be free. Like, true freedom requires safety. And that is why it's not just talk anymore for me. This is for real. It's not an easy decision, not just because the United States, as fucked up as it is the only home that I've ever known. And I'm really going to miss my friends and my family when it won't be possible for me to see them as easily anymore. But it's also not going to be an easy decision because emigrating requires resources, research, opportunities to do so, and most importantly, money, right? I'm personally setting a 3-year goal, give or take, to have my shit together to get out of Dodge. That's my goal. Your goal may vary. You may be able to do it sooner. It may take you longer if you're actually trying to do the same thing. But for me, that means being really serious about living frugally from here on out, not spending my money on frivolous things like, Postmates. I don't even use Postmates anyway, but things like that. Like, even though I wasn't already doing that, I'm going to be buying a lot less, fun stuff like makeup and, whatever, clothes, because I'm going to need the capital, not just to move, but to research where I want to move. I need to be able to travel to these places that I'm interested in to figure out what feels like home. I have to vibe it out. I can't just, even though I did exactly that when I moved out here to Cali, I moved out here sight unseen, 17 years old. I didn't know how crazy that was at the time. Now I'm grown. I was just like, that was nuts. I can't believe I did that. I was basically still a child and I moved across the country by myself without visiting first. We're not doing that this time. So I need to figure out where the vibe feels right and what feels like it can be home for at least a few years. I mean, once I emigrate, the main thing, the primary objective is done. As long as I feel pretty good, I don't have to feel like rooted to that same place forever and ever if it turns out that I feel like I'm ready to move on to somewhere else. But even getting to that point is going to mean multiple trips for practical things like finding an actual place to live in my new place to live, finding an apartment or a flat, whatever the vernacular will be, wherever I wind up. Not to mention fees associated with filing paperwork, applying for citizenship. It's a lot. It's a lot of things to unpack. And it's honestly all very overwhelming. And I feel that there has to be a better place to start getting organized on this than www.google.com. You know what I'm saying? I've always known a lot of people who find a way to live abroad by doing things like teaching English or applying for grad school or whatever. Or applying for grad school. Sorry, I was seeing that your message, Miss Yoli, was blocked. Black people are like, white supremacy is on the rise everywhere, but Black people are not hated around the world. There are countries that are primarily Black. Anyway, so in any event, teaching English, going to school, those aren't necessarily the routes that everyone is going to take. They certainly aren't the routes that I am interested in taking. And it can seem really daunting to the point that you just want to throw up your hands and just feel like you're stuck where you are rather than even beginning the process. So I felt very much called to do this, I guess. I think there's probably a lot of people who express interest in emigrating in the comments under that video who perhaps have never been out of the country, but feel in their hearts that they know they don't want to stay here. And that's probably even more of a difficult thing to try to reconcile. Like I've at least had the privilege to travel abroad before, and it's daunting to me. So if you've never even been out of the country, but you feel that this country is telling you it's time to go, that's an even heavier burden. So I felt very much called to use my platform to try to unite all of us who are interested in immigration, as well as those of us who are experienced in immigration. I'm going to be doing videos and maybe other content about this process as we go along, what options are, all that, as I learn more and as I talk with more and more of you who are experienced as expats. And some of you have already offered your help, which I'm so grateful for. I'll be reaching out to some of you privately as I start to compile everything. And this is by no means the only thing I'm going to talk about on my channel from here on out. Like, that's ridiculous. But over time, I do want to at least have a playlist and whatever else seems appropriate in terms of supplemental materials to help empower as many people as possible to feel like they can also do this. And I'm using the name and hashtag Project Exodus for all this, just to make things easily searchable and linked. And perhaps, it'll help with the algorithm as well, in terms of like having similar content pop up as more and more videos exist on my channel. If you watch one, they'll be able to kind of suggest more so that you can find the content more easily. I just want any Black person who is fed up with living in this country to have this as a source of inspiration and information, and to see that it is possible to leave. It's just the beginning of my journey personally. Obviously, I'm not on the other side yet. And it's also the beginning of me just starting to build this resource. I just felt this, again, I guess, calling to do this maybe a week or two ago. But I just want to thank everyone who's already offered help and suggestions, because I ain't got all the answers, Sway. I always tell you guys that. The key things for us to consider are countries that are safe for us to live in as Black people, because that's not going to be all of them. Certainly isn't this one. That's why we're doing this. The level of difficulty to immigrate into certain countries, costs of living of different countries. And I also want to make sure that we're cognizant and considering the treatment of the LGBTQ plus community in whichever countries, because I don't want any of my LGBT NapFam leaving one kind of life-threatening hatred in the US just to face another type in another country, because we have enough of that here. I mean, it's better than it used to be. We're in a post-Matthew Shepard kind of situation here in the United States, but hatred of the LGBTQ plus community in other countries is like decades and decades and decades and decades behind in a lot of countries. So even if they're better to Black people, perhaps it's even a Black country. If you're Black and LGBTQ, it may not be a better option for you necessarily. So yeah, I've already added a few channels that you guys may want to check out to the description box under this live. They're already there, all of which were suggestions from y'all. The first is Black Experience Japan. I've watched a handful of videos from them since last week. One of y'all mentioned them in last Saturday's live. I wish I could remember who that was, but thank you. And then I also have Tia Taylor, which was suggested by Vera on the community tab post. She is a Black woman who is living in Milan. Then there is Our Rich Journey, which was suggested by Locutus of Borg. And they are, I haven't watched any of Tia's videos yet. I haven't had time, but I'm going to. Our Rich Journey is a Black family based in Portugal, I believe. And Native Born is a Black family. That's a channel suggested by Jalicia, and they are living in Ghana. So all of those are already in the description box for you guys to check out. Thank you, Phil. Yes. I think I could. What do you mean? Oh, like live only making YouTube content. That's one reason I think considering the cost of living wherever we decide to go is important, because odds are we're not necessarily going to already have a job set up if we choose to emigrate somewhere. I'm lucky in that I've always had this YouTube side hustle, and profitable is like, I don't know about that because I don't really make that much money from my YouTube. But I am getting to a point where I probably could live if my cost of living came down, which is a goal for me anyway, like even within still being in the United States. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, I've been to Japan. I've never been to Panama. Panama. I've been to Japan. I loved it there. I wouldn't say that it's without anti-blackness at all. I feel like there's going to be anti-blackness anywhere you go. Even in Black countries, there's going to be issues of colorism, which is internalized anti-blackness. Japan is on the table, but I honestly would rather prioritize countries where I am not other. So I am kind of more leaning toward Black countries or predominantly Black countries, just because I've never experienced that. I've never been not the other. And I would like to know what that's like. That's why I've considered, even if it's just temporary, moving to Trinidad because my dad lives there. I don't know if I would want to stay there forever, but I feel like that would at least be an option for me to get out of here, maybe within that 3-year goal. And then I could figure out, okay, where do I really want to live though after that? So that's just something I'm considering. New Zealand, which is obviously not a predominantly Black country by any stretch of the imagination, is one that keeps coming up. Even my mom suggested it. Kelly, I think she's still here in the chat, but I think Kelly and we might just move down to New Zealand and just like live our Golden Girls best life. Audrey, you're coming with us too. But yeah, it should be a pretty condensed list for me. I don't want to act as if the world isn't my oyster, but I also have to be realistic about how many places I can actually visit, check out, get a good vibe off of, and feel like, okay, I could actually sustain myself, like we were just talking about a moment ago, with just this income from YouTube and my savings for however long until I figure out how I'm going to work. Because I work in show business. I'm a writer and a director. And if I leave LA, I'm basically leaving my career. I can still write remotely, but the directing gigs are no more. I occasionally do on-camera gigs, like hosting work as well. Those will essentially be no more because they're not going to be flying me out for the Bush League ass shoots that I tend to get booked on. But yeah, so that's where we're at. So thank you again to everyone who's reached out. I know I have a couple of people I need to email who have offered their help and advice. So again, this is just the beginning, but I do feel that this will hopefully be a really helpful resource for people, not just now, but years from now, who are like, you know what? Fuck this noise, and they want to get out of the country, but they're people of color and maybe they don't have the resources in the capital. I want everyone who wants to go to feel like it is actually possible and to be able to empower everyone who wants that to actually start taking the necessary steps to do so. Barbados, huh? Digital nomad. Okay, Amanda, I'm going to jot that down. Lives abroad. All right. Okay, Tracy, you live in Hong Kong. You're a Black woman. You do not speak Chinese, but you speak some Japanese. Think of Luke. I've heard of a decent amount of Black people living in Singapore. London, I mean, at least the cops don't have guns there, but I feel like racism, it's interesting. Everyone I talk to from the UK likes to act as if racism like isn't a thing there, except for the Black people. Like the Black people I talk to from the UK are just like, oh no, like it's a thing. It's almost just denial. Like, oh no, I guess that's true here too though, because I'm sure if you talk to a lot of white people in the United States, they'll act like racism isn't a thing. Meanwhile, racism is the only thing in this country. I don't know what you mean by potential failure, though, Ashley. Like, that's such a vague thing. That could mean anything. Yeah, Cheyenne, I'm sure anti-Blackness exists in Singapore and London. It exists everywhere. But again, that's another reason I'm like, I can deal with discrimination, fearing for my life. I don't really want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to have to be afraid of police. Yeah, Javel, racism in the UK is nuanced. It used to be nuanced here, and it still often is. It's just that now a lot of the people who have always been racist don't feel the need to be sneaky anymore. So they're saying it with their chests. So Ashley, you're saying not actually being able to do it. I mean, to me, that's a so what. If I'm not ready to actually move on target, then I'm not going to throw up my hands and give up. Things happen. Things happen that you can't predict. But that's nonsense to me to be like, well, if I can't do it in 3 years, then I shouldn't start at all. Like, that doesn't make sense. Thank you, Amy. That's a generous super chat. Exactly, Audra. I don't want to have to deal with people threatening me in line at Trader Joe's. Fuck that. Ash to the B, I was leaning toward Ghana. That was already on my short list of places I was interested in. And I've always wanted to go to South Africa as well. I mean, I don't know about the racism there though. Like that makes me a little bit nervous. But I've always just wanted to visit there just as a tourist. So it's on the list. It is for sure on the list. Keywords: the Black experience abroad. That's right. That's Vicky. I think that's probably a great way to search on YouTube, but you might get overwhelming results. And that's honestly what a big aim of this whole Project Exodus thing is. It's to kind of curate all of the information in one place rather than having so much stuff to comb through that you just want to say forget it and just not even start. That's my goal. I just want to, my channel has always tried to focus on empowerment and sharing information. That's always been kind of what I'm about. It started off with sharing information about hair. Turned out y'all weren't checking for me on that front, so I moved on. But regardless of the topic at hand, I always want to be focusing on helping to share information with people. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing a lot from people, Ms. Cool Cat, that Canada, it's racist too, but at least they're nicer about it. Exactly, Amia. I mean, I want to visit South Africa. I don't know if I want to live there on account of apartheid. Like that was, I'm not sure that if I'm trying to escape racism, South Africa is the place, but I still have always wanted to visit it. Thank you, Sue. Yeah, you might have come in late. I was mentioning speaking English, teaching English as a way out that I know a lot of people have done. Tends to be in Asian countries, I find. But yeah, the Peace Corps. That's an interesting one. I hadn't thought about that. I'll jot that down too. Thank you for sharing. And if anyone has experience with actually getting out of the US by teaching English, please do also share your experiences either in the chat or again, feel free to contact me via email through the email link on my channel page. You might have to put in a CAPTCHA or something, but you can always reach my email through my channel page. Exactly, Sunny A. Apartheid ended like not that long ago. So it wasn't really on my list to like move to South Africa, but I've always wanted to visit. I really want to see Johannesburg and Cape Town. Peace Corps on your list too, Ajama. Hey, Cece. Oh, so you were doing it in Spain. Actually, my friend Nancy, I think, might have done that too. Yeah, but she's pretty fluent in Spanish anyway because she's Colombian. So she grew up speaking Spanish at home. Expat Mark, which I'm guessing you're an expat. Are you in Colombia? You're talking about Medellin? Because I am spoiled. I live in LA, and I was chatting with a friend today about Europe and just how easy it is to country hop. And that is enticing to me. If maybe I don't love the first place, it's easy to kind of just move to a new country if I'm already in Europe. Thank you, RamenZilla. You're welcome for the 30% YouTube. Yes, the NapFam Exodus is overdue. And RamenZilla, let me know if you're coming with me. I hope you are. What was I going to say? Expat Mark, you were talking about Medellin. I'm spoiled by the weather is what I was going to say here in LA. So as much as it's enticing to be able to country hop around Europe, I think I want to live somewhere that's got pretty mild weather because I'm so spoiled now. I grew up in New York and I remember what that's like, having to deal with real cold rather than like cute cold. I call it cute cold because in LA we just get cute cold where like you put on a pea coat but you don't even have to button it and maybe a scarf and you just look cute, but it's not that cold. Yanko, I don't know why your message got hidden, but Tanzania traveling sister. Okay, thank you so much. See, keep these recommendations coming. And as I said, I'm going to miss more than half of the chat because that's just the way it goes. It goes too fast for me. But I appreciate all this because even if I don't see it, you might be helping someone else. And if you have more to share than you can share in just a live stream chat, hit up my channel page and email me, please. Cute cold is all good, Robinzilla and Serenity. I love cute cold, but I don't want like real cold. I just want a little taste. Like maybe like 4 days of real winter per year. Like that's kind of like, ooh, it's like refreshing, but then I'm over it. Then I'm ready to go back to more temperate climates. Yeah, V. Smith. I've heard it's beautiful there too. Okay. I feel like I had a neighbor or something once who was Cape Verdean. I wonder whatever happened to her. Cape Verde. I should look into that. LGBTQ friendly. The tricky allure becoming a Black American expat. I'll have to remember that, Ashley. Thank you for the suggestion. Oh, Maria, you're saying Medellin is similar to LA? Interesting. I've heard Colombia is beautiful too. I remember watching some travel vlogs in Colombia and I was just like, man, I mean, that was on my list to just visit as a tourist before I had actually, this was years ago, before I was just like, I'm getting out of here. Is it really level up? I mean, again, white supremacy is worldwide. I think people keep bringing that up as if like that's supposed to end the conversation, but like we've said a number of times, like we get it, like white supremacy is going to be an issue everywhere, including in predominantly, if not all Black countries, but it's still probably going to be better than this, than dealing with a country whose foundation is actual racism. Oh, yes. Absolutely, Audra. You're right. I mean, it's interesting because I've been posting about, even with, not just with the Ahmad video, but on Instagram and stuff, you know, I was just letting people know that I was going live about this. And I've had people messaging me like, I'm white and I want to get out of here. So I think a lot of people are just fed up because here's the thing. With the concentration of wealth and the hoarding of wealth and the pro-corporate anti-working class agenda that this country so clearly has had over the last several decades, everyone is getting screwed over. And now I think it's not just Black people who are getting a taste of what it feels like to be oppressed. The Karens are not having it. Have you seen these videos? A lot of people, man, they're just like, fuck this. This is only supposed to happen to Black people. I mean, that is not even the undercurrent, but the overcurrent. I mean, I'm seeing signs like masks are for slaves and animals or something like that, being held by white. Like, this is the kind of thing they're just coming out with. Like, I shouldn't have to do this. I'm white and I should have a better life than Black people do. So it's interesting to me that a lot of people are getting fed up with this country, including white people. And a lot of them are white liberals / allies who are like, fuck all of this. Fuck the way everything is predicated on racism, even though y'all don't acknowledge it. Fuck the way y'all treat the working class. We're all going. Adams, that message shouldn't have been hidden. Poor Karens. I don't feel bad for the Karens at all, Hugh. The Karens need to have an entire row of seats. Oh God, Shonen. Don't get me started. I feel like the Biden campaign should have stuck with their strategy of making sure that he was neither seen nor heard. Moron. S. Coily, yes, and it's a complicated issue. I mean, Malcolm X talked about things like this. Sometimes uh, people who identify as white liberals are not for real. A lot of people are just not for real. And you kind of have to play a wait and see game with a lot of people to see if they're for real, if they're really an ally, or if it's all just bullshit. Yeah, Lakeisha, Trinidad does seem, I mean, my dad has told me, he's just like, trust me, we are not without our problems. And I've said this before. He said that it's quote unquote basically a third world country, but the fact that he moved back there after living here for several decades means that he still feels that it's better than this shit. And my dad, I think, is he's pretty with it, you know? Like my dad sends me a lot of really bizarre videos, to be honest with you. Yesterday, my dad, it was my uncle's birthday, and we were texting on WhatsApp, and he was just like, yeah, you know, I'm going to your uncle's house for his birthday. A couple hours later, he's just like, here I am with your uncle. And he just sends me like these super awkward like videos of like him just like staring in the camera and saying nothing. It was like the most dad thing ever. It's like, I don't think he knows it's video and not a photo. Like what is these? And he was wearing like a Christmas shirt, like yeah, like a polo shirt with a Christmas tree on it. This is completely off topic, but yeah, my dad's he's living his best down in Trinity. He's having a good time, I think. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you so much. Oh, you're over in Moscow. I hear it's like Moscow's one of the most expensive cities in the world, isn't it? Or at least it used to be. I think it still is. Yeah. My upstairs neighbor is from Moscow. She's got an apartment there too, and she must make good money, but whatever. Yeah, Erica, I hope so too. I hope so too. We were both disappointed that I didn't get to go visit him because they weren't letting in anyone who's not a citizen. And a few of you guys have offered advice to me to look into getting dual citizenship because I guess as the child of a citizen, it might be easier for me. But I did look up the website. My eyes went cross-eyed almost immediately with all of the red tape and fine print. Just like, oh, I'll get to this later. But yeah, it is encouraging because, like I said, it's nice to kind of have that as even just a placeholder, even if it's not where I want to stay. Even if it just means that I can get out of here and live somewhere where I feel safe. Because as I said earlier, like if I can't be safe, I can't be free. It's such a mental, it's mental terrorism in a way to have to walk around constantly in fear and to have it actually escalate. Because I don't remember walking around feeling afraid quite like this when I was younger. But now it's just like, not only do I have to worry about cops, I have to worry about like crazy people feeling emboldened enough to just attack me because this is the climate we're in. Thank you, Carrie Fox. That's super generous. Victoria, British Columbia, huh? Okay, because Vancouver has also been sort of on my list, but like I don't know how easy it is to emigrate to Canada, and that's information that I want to get because I know Canada is at the top of many Americans' lists because it's just approachable. You know, it's you guys are our neighbors, and it just seems everyone speaks English, everyone seems nice, yada. Pretty left. Yeah. In fact, Carrie, some of my favorite political YouTubers are actually Canadians, and they just happen to comment on our politics here in the States a lot. I really like Christo Avialis. He's Canadian. LGBTQ friendly. Yes. Not that many POC. Thank you, Carrie. Love you too. Yeah, you know, that's the thing I struggle with, but it's also, I think for me, and this is something that we'll each have to decide for ourselves, is what is most important to you? Getting out of here as soon as possible or moving once? Meaning like, if I'm moving countries, I'm only doing it one time. For me, I think it's more about getting out of here as soon as possible. And I wouldn't necessarily mind living a somewhat nomadic life if I move every few years until I feel like I want to settle. Because I'm still relatively young. I'm only in my early 90s. So I feel pretty good about possibly moving again, even if it's just to have a different experience, not to be like, oh, this was a mistake, I hate it here, but to be like, okay, this was an experience I wanted to have, and now I'm ready for my next experience. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Jake. I thought it was difficult to immigrate to Canada because I feel like a lot of people probably want to do it, and I feel like why would they make it easy? So that was one of the considerations I had on my list, is not just when you think about cost of living, climate you want, demographics that you want, but how realistic is it to actually immigrate into whatever country you're thinking about easily? It might be good to just have a list of countries, like top 10 countries that are relatively Black friendly and relatively easy to immigrate into. Thank you, Rhonda. Yes, good medical care. Yeah, that's a good point. My mom brought that up, and I mean, I talked about this last week, and her whole thing was like, well, I just want to make her, basically, long story short, she was insinuating that if you move to a country that is not predominantly white, that is mutually inclusive with not having access to good medical care, which is like, do you understand how problematic that is, Mom? So, of course, we want good medical care. I think that goes without saying. It's not hard to do worse than what we have here, though. Yeah, Janine. Once I turned 30, I decided I was going to stop saying my age on YouTube because people get weird about it. And I don't know. I feel like people start putting their expectations of what you're supposed to act like, look like, dress like, whatever. They put their baggage on you. So I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to stop talking about that. And now I just tell everyone that I'm, in my early 90s. And they're like, girl, you look good. And I'm like, I know. Well, Ajama, I think we've all had projects that we've abandoned. And if you still feel that that's something you would want to do, you can pick it up where you left off. I mean, it's harder to travel now on account of Shawty Row. That's the one thing that's got me worried, because the actual location scouting aspect of finding where I want to go is going to be hard because it's going to be so difficult to travel. I mean, there's no real end to this. The world has changed forever because of this pandemic, and not to be all bleak on y'all, but like, this is just the first one. Like, there's going to be another one. Thank you, Whitney. We have not talked about Doja Cat, and I don't know what denim panties, Kelly. I don't know why we would talk about Doja Cat. I barely even know who she is. Like, I hear her name a lot, but I don't know anything about Doja Cat. Brittany L. Coley, thank you. Oh, yeah. Actually, Brittany, at least 2 of the channels already linked in the description box are family expats. So make sure you check them out. It would be I'm sure I put descriptions in there as well, just so it's easier. But Our Rich Journey and Native Born, those 2 are both families of expats. What happened with Doja Cat, Serenity? Like, why is anyone even bringing up Doja Cat? Yes, Sabina, it's not even just the second wave of Corona. And what I'm seeing going on in places like Atlanta, I mean, I'm seeing videos of people just like wilding out at super crowded parties. I'm just like, okay, YOLO, I guess. But I'm talking about like the next pandemic, which will be worse than this, because the powers that be been fucking around with Mother Earth too long, and she's getting rid of us. Thank you, Ramenzilla. Switzerland, I've heard, is a nice option. I don't know how anti-Black it is. I mean, my best friend, he plans to move to Amsterdam, and I'm just like, I don't think I want to live anywhere where they still think that it's okay to do blackface every Christmas because it's tradition. Like, y'all still trying to die on that hill, and you want to move there as a Black man? Okay, girl. Doja Cat is a racist edgelord? I don't know anything about this, Serenity. I don't know what happened. I don't care about these people, so like I'm usually out of the loop. I'm sure like normally if I would have known what you guys were talking about, it only would have been because, as told by Kenya, had done a video giving her take on it. That's usually how I find out about about this type of fuckery, because like I don't know. I don't know if I could pick Doja Cat out of a lineup. Like that's how little I care or know about her. Tammy, I'm telling you, I forget, I think it's called Black Pete, if I'm remembering correctly, but they legit think that it's okay to continue a tradition where like entire families will like put on blackface as part of their Christmas traditions. Like I don't have time to unpack it. It's crazy. Thank you, Karen. It's one of the Lisa Eldridge lippies. I linked it in the description box, and I think it is still in stock, but it's not cheap, girl. It's Lisa Eldridge. But I love her, first of all. And not that she needs my money, but I do love to like support her projects because she puts so much work into it. And I just have respect for anyone who actually cares about their work, whatever it is, as much as she does. It is Black Pete. Thank you, Our Journey Called Life. Yes, you guys, I'm telling you, just Google Amsterdam Black Pete and you will be appalled. Yes, Sonny, I said that's Amsterdam is in the Netherlands. Yes. I said Amsterdam because that's the specific city where my best friend wants to move. I'm like, you want to move to Amsterdam in a country that still thinks blackface is cool? Okay. Carter, I do watch Vox, but I have not seen their piece about Black Pete. I just know about it from reading about it. And I've seen photos too, but I didn't know Vox ever did a video. I don't really need to be getting my blood hot. Exactly, Rhonda. I mean, even if I do like find out what's going on with Doja Cat, like, is it going to matter in a week? Probably not. Because if she's being canceled, I'm sure people are going to forget in 3, 2, and she's uncanceled. Thank you, Cindy. That's nice of you. Ivan V, the Gaia theory. I'm talking about Doja Cat and Black Pete. Jubei, I haven't actually watched any YouTube at all today. I've been kind of busy. I'm juggling so many things right now between this, my Patreon, my job, because I'm on this writing gig that's like 6 weeks long, and it's just been like I've been pulled in so many directions lately. It's been a lot. I feel like I'm constantly winded. Serenity, I would consider Peru. I mean, I'm pretty open to a lot of options. And Spanish-speaking countries in general are appealing to me because, one, even before I set this intention to emigrate, I've wanted to have the experience of living in a country where the official or primary language, I mean, for that matter, the official language of the United States is in English, but where people don't speak English. It is more approachable for me to then find a country where the primary language is Spanish because I kind of speak Spanish. And for that reason, I could two birds it, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe find a Spanish-speaking country, live there for at least a year, while also like getting the hell out of here, and then figure out where I want to like live after that. As long as I can get good food for my dog, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? Allie, listen, traveling I didn't realize how important it was for my personal sense of fulfillment, my sense of well-being, my happiness, my sense of freedom until I couldn't do it. You know, with everything that's going on, like having my trip to Trinidad canceled, it's just like, I'm like, I got like the bouncing leg, you know, like I'm ready to see the world because seeing the world is so important to me, just as expanding my worldview anyway. And I try not to dwell on it because it really does bring me down when I think about it for too long, but traveling, it makes me happy. I love to just see how other people live, like not in like a fetishizing way, like, oh, like look, they're so primitive, like that's just weird. But um like whenever I see people like posing with black and brown children, I'm just like, those aren't props, those are people. But I do love to travel. It's a big part of my sense of personal fulfillment. Ivan, in regards to the Earth self-correcting the damage we've done and restoring, but yeah, I've heard that. Oh, yeah, you were the one who said Gaia theory a moment ago. I was just like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I've heard. I'm not super educated on what that is, but I've heard that term. I think a lot of people are probably throwing it around. You know how these things become like echo chambers and people start repeating each other. Yeah, I think I've heard that recently. I don't know enough about it to speak to it. I just kind of have my own beliefs on things sometimes, and they will often line up with other things that are being discussed on a larger scale. Like I guess people hashtagging Gaia theory. Thank you, Whitney. Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, Colombia was already on my list as just a country I wanted to visit at some point. So I think for me, since I do want to be out of here within 3 years, the critical thing is going to be one, living small so that I have money to take as many passport trips as I can and like do this location scouting and figure out what is realistic for me. Where do I really feel good? Because I've never really visited anywhere and felt like this is for me. This is where I should be, except for New Orleans. And we're not doing that. I'm not moving to the South. At one point, that was the plan. I talked about this last week where I was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. But no, not, not in this America. Things done changed. Things done changed. Because I started going to New Orleans like probably 6 years ago, maybe more. And I've gone at least once a year ever since, and things done changed. And it was already kind of like, ooh, like, I don't know. I mean, it's the South, but it's New Orleans, so it's different. And now it's just like, nope, nipped in the bud. Not doing it. Not doing it. Ash to the B, I saw that piece. What was it? Cancer Alley or something they called it. That was heavy. That was a heavy one. In this economy, right, Serenity? Tejas, do you live in Ethiopia, or have you just visited there? What are your thoughts? Hi, Pony Coco. British Virgin Islands or Antigua. See, we're just getting people are just naming places now. Ooh, Javi, who wants to move to Florida? Not me. I would never. Oh, Kayla, no, I love New Orleans. Like, if I could take New Orleans, not just out of the South, but like out of this country, I would absolutely move there. But now I'm scared enough in LA. I don't need to actually be in Louisiana. Carter, Florida? Kelly, New Zealand. I'm telling you, it's going to be you and me and Audra and maybe a couple more from our Gutta gang. Just golden girls, living our best with our jump offs, our handsome young jump offs. We're going to be doing it up. Christina, I mean, perhaps someone mentioned it up thread in the chat, South Korea, but I haven't seen it. That's an interesting one. Black Experience Japan is cool because it's not exclusively about Black people living in Japan. He did a documentary, which I think is the featured video on his channel. So if you click through to the link in the description box, it'll take you through. It's like 45 minutes. It's not excessively long, but he talks to Black people living all across Asia and just the unifying reason of why they like it, why they prefer it to the US. So it's pretty interesting. Have you been to New Zealand, Tammy? Adriana's saying South Korea is pretty racist. Ooh. Oh, thank you, Yolanda. That's very sweet. Toya will be the Sophia. Janine, I don't think anyone said that racism isn't going. I mean, I've said this like 4 times today. No one said that racism isn't going to exist in other countries. It's about not having to fear for our lives as Black people. I'm not going to say this again. South Korea is extremely anti-Black. I'm not necessarily surprised, just with my experience dealing with a lot of Korean Americans and Chinese Americans. I mean, some of the first time I was called an N-word was a Chinese American, and I've just experienced like a lot of blatant anti-Blackness by Korean Americans and Chinese Americans, and over the course of my life here in the States, unfortunately. Serenity, I agree. Like, we need to block the next person who thinks that they're shaking the table. Like, you guys, like, we know, like, we've covered it. Keep up, please. Tjus, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Some of the videos of the treatment of Black people post Rona in China are like, wow, 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 wow. But I will say, I mean, not every like experience of Black people in China is the same, because even in that documentary from Black Experience Japan, there were at least, I think, 2 different Black men living in China who have had positive experiences. They love it. I'm not doing it. I've just had too much anti-Blackness and racism from Chinese people here and even just like flying like China Air, because I actually flew China Air when I went to Japan, and I was just like, this is like blatant different treatment just on this flight. But you know, I had a great time in Japan, obviously completely different country, but I had a great time in Japan. I would consider living in Japan, but I don't know. I feel like I want to live somewhere that's more diverse. Afro-American in Africa. She lives in Namibia. So she emigrated to Namibia, Sunny. I'll jot that down. Afro-American in Africa. Afro-American in Africa. Namibia. Thank you. Margaret, you're heading to Vancouver. I want to visit Vancouver. I mean, I want to visit Canada all over, but Vancouver was kind of the first place on my list, just because I heard if you're trying to choose between Toronto and Vancouver, go Vancouver. Like, several Canadian friends have told me that. Thank you, Ramendzilla. Here we go with you and the super chats again tonight. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York, so I know it is, it's the crossroads of the world in many ways. And I am forever grateful to be from New York, I guess, because it's so ingrained in so much of my identity. Being from New York is such a big part of who I am, and I love who I am, and therefore I love New York. But I don't want to live there. I don't think ever again, even though my family is still there. Only my dad moved back to Trinidad. My mom, my brother, they're all still in New York. I don't think I ever want to live there again. Mm-mm. It's just like LAPD, NYPD, pick your poison. They're both terrible. They're both some of the most racist, blatantly racist institutions in the country. Yeah, Jada, I'm from Queens by way of Brooklyn. My family's from Brooklyn, Flatbush to be specific, and my parents moved my brother and I out to Queens when I was maybe 3 or so years old, something like that. Yeah, 920 Pam. I mean, I think it's okay to love a place and feel like you can no longer stay there. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. San Francisco is hyper segregated as well because of the tech boom and just the ridiculous wealth disparity that goes on up there. That's right, Rhonda. Queens girl represent. I can't speak to that COS, but Evelyn from the internets, her bestie was living in South Korea for a time. I believe she was over there teaching English. And Evelyn from the internets did a vlog about her experience being in Korea, and her best friend Doyen was able to speak to the long-term experience. So if you're curious about the experience of Black people in Korea, check out Evizi. Rashandra, I am drinking a mezcal mule. This is actually what I was drinking last week, and I figured I'd make another one. And I'll repeat this. I don't know where this mug is from. I've had it for years, so it's not in the description box, and don't be asking me. Yeah, Teddy. I mean, you're not wrong. The cost of living is San Francisco would actually be at the top of that list, not just New York and California. Well, California would include San Francisco. I was thinking LA. But yeah, New York, LA, San Francisco. I feel like it is easier to get by on less in LA by far compared to New York or San Francisco, but none of them are cheap. I'll tell you that. Ooh, interesting. Karen says that she has a Black friend who taught English in Korea. It was hard for her, even though it was nice. Okay, I can see that. I mean, experiences usually exist on a spectrum, even though as humans, I think we like to distill things into binary ways. This is good, this is bad, this is racist, this is not racist. Almost nothing can be distinguished as such. Everything is going to fall on a spectrum, except for obviously, like burning a cross on someone's lawn. That's like, that is racist. I think so, Brianna Hill. I know Akon is actually like rather, at least it seems quiet to me because I'm just learning about it relatively recently that Akon's like done a ton of community outreach and just uh, community building over in Ghana, I think it is. Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I'm extremely reticent to go somewhere where it's not at least like a mainly Black or at least brown country. I don't know. One thing that's really been grinding my gears though is just that's another video. I'll leave that for another day because it's already almost time to go. Been on here almost an hour. But why is every place so anti-Black? Because level up, that is because white supremacy is worldwide. White supremacy is worldwide because the influence of European and American beauty standards, ideologies, economic policies, political policies, criminal policies, they are almost seen as the template. They're seen as aspirational. It's it's such a complicated issue, but that is the short answer. I mean, I need more than 2 minutes to answer that, but the short answer is everyone is anti-Black because white supremacy is international. And that means even moving to a Black country doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to deal with issues of anti-Blackness. It's just going to be internalized. And we deal with that here too. So at least like I can handle that. Like I'm already dealing with that. That won't be anything new. I'm trying to alleviate some of the bullshit that we have to endure by getting out of here. Anti-Blackness, internalized anti-Blackness, I should say, isn't likely to result in my death. Okay. The racism is better. It's more pinky up racism in Toronto. Ramonzilla, I believe you. New York City is robbing people with the cost of living. I believe you. Exactly, Kristen. I mean, and that's the thing. I said this last week. If it's not racism, it's colorism or some other found reason to self-sort. It's human nature. And either you're a person who is constantly making the choice to rail against that conditioning, or you're part of the problem. Racism is not an event. It is a million little decisions that the people in power make and that they continue to make day to day that allows it to remain the system on which everything else operates. It's not an event. Racism isn't a thing that happens. It's an entire system that is predicated on myriad decisions made by the people in power. The people in power obviously being white people. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up because it is 7. Once again, if you are an expat and you feel like you have something that will be helpful to contribute, please email me. My hope is to continue this conversation going either through lives or more likely, I think, through regular videos where I can kind of curate the information I've received, start compiling things and have videos focus on various aspects. Like, here are countries that are not completely ridiculously anti-Black. Here are countries where the cost of living is good. Here are countries that are relatively easy to immigrate into, things like that. I mean, this is just the beginning, as I've said many times. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. I look forward to learning with you guys, hoping to share this information, hoping to share inspiration and really just have this as a resource for people now and going forward into the future, you know, years from now when maybe there's someone who's just coming of age, is just like, oh, this country's bullshit. And then hopefully they'll be able to use this as a starting point to find what they need to empower themselves. All right, everyone. I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a nice weekend, and I will see you guys again soon. We'll see how much data I'm able to gather over the next several days. But if anything, I'll probably just do another video when something is on my mind or on my heart, or when I'm just feeling spontaneous and maybe I want to rant about makeup. We'll see. But in any event, I love you guys. Thank you all for showing up for this live, because I do think that we've shared some good inspiration and info, as I've said. And before I go, never trust anyone with a Morphe code.